Good evening and welcome to the Febar. My name is Jack Jordan Maynard and joining me tonight is Mr. Jack Pickering. We have plenty to talk about tonight after two frantic Tokyo E-Prix which saw victories for Stoffel Vandoorne and Oliver Rowland. Rowland's great form continues. Is he already champion-elect? We got to talk Dan Ticktum as well. He's got his first podium in Formula E, so we want to hear from plenty of Dan Ticktum fans tonight. And remember, you can have your say on the only FE fan-in show. Make sure you join our Discord and hit that like and subscribe button. Mr. Pickering, how are you?
I'm good, yeah. Well, every single bone in my body below about here is aching.
Are you in a Hulk suit?
No, it's a.
I know it says Eurovision. I know it says Eurovision. Let's just get this. You look like you're in an Incredible Hulk suit.
So it's one of those muscle suit things, yeah. But the thing is, I spray painted it green because. Do you remember Cardia, who came second a couple of years ago, the Cha 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 guy?
Yes.
That. Oh. This is my cheap knockoff.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah.
Cha 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 Cha.
Yeah,
I remember that. I do remember that. I was wondering how much Eurovision chat we would squeeze in before we actually just talked about actual Formula E. I'm going to be honest with you. Didn't think Austria's song was very good. I was out. Wasn't my favourite. I've only watched snippets. You know, like the votes.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a couple. I thought there was a lot more better songs. I could see why people thought Armenia might win. I liked theirs a little bit.
Armenia, we were surprised qualified. If I'm brutally honest, that. I was amazed that qualified.
But people said Malta was bad, but then people were tipping Malta to win, and I listened to Malta's song, and I was like, terrible.
Oh no, Malta, I loved.
You loved.
However, it's Malta, and it was never going to do well in the televote because they don't really do that well.
Yeah.
The Austria, I'm just relieved. No one wanted like that. That was the only way that the final two.
No one wanted that.
Oh Jesus!
Thank God Austria did win. But I didn't. When I listened to the song,
Thank God Austria won.
I got back home for the final, and I was like, this one. It's a bit shocked. But then they said it was a karaoke version. So when I watched the actual version, it looked different to how we actually sung it in the final. So maybe that would have been a bit different.
Yeah, I will say this year overall was not a strong year for the Eurovision. We've been on a steady decline since 2021, and this is
since Maneskin.
Since Måneskin won really. So I'm hoping.
I thought the rain was good. Was that before or after?
No. So I'm talking about the overall
package.
The overall field.
Overall package. Right.
So all 37 songs. This was the lowest group. This is the lowest quality group of songs we've had
the worst Eurovision
in about 7 years.
Cool.
No. Anyway, look, the 1990s were way worse. 2008 was dreadful.
Right.
But
let's talk Formula E.
Love. No. I just want to finish this little bit.
Finish this sentence.
This little bit. Yeah. And so Austria was better in the studio. I wasn't really sure about it on Thursday night. I think he performed it better on Saturday. I think it's a deserved winner in the context of the songs that we had this year. I think that for me, it was my number 2 going into this week. Okay. Big up Erika Wickman for Finland. But yeah, I'm more than happy with an Austria win.
Fair play. Right, Formula E. It was a frantic weekend. Frantic. And we've got a busy show tonight. And obviously, at the moment...
Was it? Because I haven't seen much.
Okay, it was a frantic weekend, but I've got some housekeeping rules. Right? We've got to play... This is not a game. This is a game that we're going to start now and we're going to end at the end of the show. Now, we are on TikTok. If you put !TikTok in the chat, our TikTok link will come up. Nightbot will do that. Also on Instagram. So if you're not on Instagram, put it on Instagram as well. Hit us a follow. But our Dan Ticktum video is currently on, I think it was, before I started the show, it was on 13,000, which I was amazed by. 13,800. I want guesses in chat of when we end the show, and I've got to remember, I've got to write this down. Check the Dan Ticktum clip. How many views will it be by the end of the show? How many views will it have by the end of the show? So it's currently like 13,800. How many will it have by the end of the show? So that is something. And if you haven't followed us...
How long has it been up?
It's been up over a day.
For a day.
So that's the only game, right?
14.1 is my guess.
14.1. Okay, I'm gonna go for 15.2 because of just how quickly it's gone up today, and I'm still getting notifications of likes and so forth. But yeah, if you haven't followed us on that, there, I also have to say a massive thank you. We've got 5 members. Obviously, there was no obligation, and so we want to say many thanks, and a lot of them are in there. So we've got Lou, we've got Natalie, we've got Nikki, we've got Sam, and we've got one more that's escaped me because I can't remember. Sam, Nikki, Lou, Natalie. Oh my God, Nikki, yeah, Dutch Nikki. That's why there's 2 Nickis. That's why it's confused my brain there for a second, right? Yeah. So and Dutch Nikki. So thank you so much. However, this is my only plug.
Why would you pay?
This is my only.
Why would you pay to watch this?
My only plug. If we get 3 more members, right, and it's only at £2, then your names.
That will start an OnlyFans.
Yeah. If we get 3 more members, if we get 8 members, then your names, your little picture of whatever your YouTube thing comes up on our homepage to say that you're members. So if we get 3 more, right? If we get 3 more, your picture comes up. That would be cool. I'm not asking for much. If you want to get 3 more, that would be awesome. If not, don't have to. Anyway,
I'm just going to interrupt quickly. So the game that you've so brilliantly devised this morning, this evening, about the number of views on the thing, and I said that it would go from 13.8k to 14.1.
Is it already at 14.2?
It's at 14.2 at the moment, so
really?
I've already lost. I've lost already. That's the thing. I was trying to do the maths and thinking how much is that going up by hour, thinking it will reduce over time, and it's already it's already reduced that.
So there we go. That's the game. We'll check that at the end. Right, Oliver.
I've already lost. Fantastic.
I thought you'd lose. I want to start with Oliver Rowland, right? And then we'll get some calls on before 8:30. He's unreal. Is Oliver Rowland? My question is to you: is he champion-elect at this point? Because he's super consistent. Pole in both days. Yes, it was Friday with the rain. Obviously, got cancelled, but he could have got pole, and obviously he did it again in the dry on Sunday. And if it wasn't for the Vandoorne incident, which we're going to be talking about with Tobias Wirtz at 8:30, he could have won both races and been further ahead of the championship. I can't see anything stopping him at the moment.
Yeah, honestly, 100%. And if we're thinking back to his bad days so far this season, his bad days have been
Sao Paulo.
a drive-through penalty in Sao Paulo, which took him out of the contention for the win, and a time penalty in Miami, which took him out of the contention for had he probably used all of attack mode. Let's be real. The podium may be a win.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is a season like no other. I don't think we've ever seen anything sort of this dominant. Even in the Seb Buemi Renault Edam's early days, when Seb in season 3 he turned up to a race and either won it or binned it, and he did eventually lose that championship. But it's that kind of dominance. But the bad days are not hugely bad. And if you think about this weekend, had the whole thing with the pit boost and Stoffel Vandoorne and the red flags not happened, Oliver Rowland would have won 2 races this weekend. So this season is like no other I think we've ever seen. It's genuinely fantastic from Ollie Rowland, and he's now 77 points in the lead of the championship. We were saying there is no way that he could win it as early as Jakarta. If he has a good weekend in Shanghai, he can win the championship in Jakarta.
Unreal. I know it's crazy to think about. I'm hoping because we're going to Berlin that he'll win it there, because that's why I'm going to Berlin, because just to make please win it there, mate. Just win it there if you're going to win it, because we don't want to. We would love to be at the track basically when he's there. And I don't think many media are going to Jakarta because it's only a single header and it's a long way. So it'd be not the greatest if he won there. I don't even think there's not even a lot of the Formula E. Formula E are doing the commentary for that race in-house in London. They're not even sending Tom Brooks out. So, you know, I don't think. Hopefully he won't, unless they change that decision. If he is going to win the title by then.
I'll be honest. I'm waiting to see if Oxford United are going to do a pre-season tour out there.
In Asia to go?
Well, the owners are the owners of Oxford United are Indonesian, and we got 2 Indonesian national players.
You've got enough problems with your stadium at the minute, but enough about that. We need to talk about Dan Ticktum before we get the calls in, because we do want to get some calls in before Tobias comes in on 8:30. Dan Ticktum, first podium, unreal, like fully deserved. I think Monaco proved, and obviously this Porsche powertrain, which is obviously a year old. But what we thought that they would do this at the beginning of the season, they're starting to do now.
I spoke to Florian Modlinger in Madrid last year, and he was saying how that even though it's a year-old powertrain and it's not really suited to the it's a thing for it's a PU for last generation, not this year's. That they can still learn things from that and vice versa. And so, we all thought that they might be there or thereabouts start of the year and then might tail off. But it's like Ticktum's finally he's finally happy. Like,
he is.
He's finally got a car underneath him that he can do something, and he's just beaming at the moment. And yes, there was the frustration in Monaco. And the thing is, Ticktum, believe it or not, this isn't an insider. He's a competitive guy. He wants to win races. He hasn't been enjoying these last 3-4 years or so in Formula E, where he's been trundling around near the back. Admittedly, on his day, he's been mega. I remember back to Diriyah when he qualified, I think, with the Neo 333 into the duels or something. And so Dan, honestly, fantastic. I was super gassed for him. I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of the races this weekend because I was a little bit preoccupied. But I did sort of lay there and squint at my TV and watched it. And so when I saw that Dan got the podium, I thought he lost it because Taylor did a mega move around the outside of him towards the end of the race. But honestly, super, super gas for Dan Ticktum.
Yep, very, 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 very happy. We're going to hear from some Dan Ticktum fans now. But first, I have to say a massive thank you because Connor has become a member and Saz has become a member. So thank you. We're one member away, and then your pictures. We're one member away, by the way. So we're one member away, and your lovely pictures or your lovely little thing will be on our YouTube page. So if we can get one more, that's it. Job done. Also,
not those pictures.
Not those pictures, yeah. But your lovely picture on YouTube. Let's get Helen in. Helen, you're on the FE bar. How are you?
Hello, I'm very, very well. How are you?
Very well, very well. We obviously everyone knows.
Have you come down from the ceiling?
Not quite. Still, I was telling everybody at work about what had happened. No one cares. Literally, no one cares. But everybody knows exactly what happened. But obviously, wanted to talk about Dan getting his first podium. I know he's spoken at length about the frustrations of the last few years and stuff, and obviously calling it depressing for everybody involved. And I know they've got an older powertrain, but it just seems to be performing so well at the moment. Obviously qualifying was unexpected to some extent, disappointing in the end, hitting the wall, but I don't think you could be too disappointed with that. He was obviously trying very, very hard to beat Ollie, who's obviously very quick at the moment. And the fact that he was actually up on the first 2 sectors before the incident was unbelievable, really. I couldn't believe what I was seeing at like 3:30 in the morning or whatever it was.
Yeah. Absolutely
unbelievable. But obviously that was a big moment for them, and I can understand he was disappointed, but also I think you can be very proud of that because
it's one of those, isn't it?
And also he wasn't up by like a small amount. Obviously he had backed off by that point, but because the delta for Ollie was so far behind, he was up by half a second. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we could say that, if he'd just gone maybe like 99% instead of 100% into that corner, then yeah. But that's not how Dan works, is it?
Yeah, he's kind of all or nothing with it, I think. So he's always just going to push as much as he can. So you can't really fault him for that. But you know, it all worked out very well in the end, anyway. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe the way that the race panned out. It was so well done, and working alongside Pascal worked out very nicely for them as well. A little bit of teamwork, even though Pascal nearly did put him into the wall at one point.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit cheeky, but survived. I kind of wanted to touch on something that happened in Monaco and then
go for
a
it.
little bit more.
Not the security issues, because I 100% agree with you.
No, I was gonna get too riled up if I talk about that, because that guy was annoying. But no, I was in Monaco and I was speaking to Dan's mum on the Sunday at the autograph session, and she'd spotted the caps and the flag and different things, and she came over to talk to us for a while, and she was really grateful for us kind of openly supporting him. Couldn't stop thanking us for, you know, supporting our son and all this, and it actually made me a little bit sad that that's not the norm.
Yeah.
Like, it's unusual for her to see people being nice to him, and I feel like there's been a little bit of a shift in attitude with some people where, especially over the course of this weekend, there's been a lot more people sort of going out there saying that he's performing well, saying that he seems to be a bit of a changed guy. You know, his attitude's improved, he's a lot more chilled out. I think there's a bit of a shift in the attitudes for him, which is really, really good. And I wonder if it's maybe down partly to the appearance in the TV show, because people can see his personality a bit more. They kind of understand why he says some of the things he does. I really hope that he mentioned in the interview afterwards that some people within FE, including Jeff, have kind of embraced his opinions a little bit more.
Yep.
So I think it's good that people are now allowing him to be a bit more himself, and he seems like he's a lot more relaxed.
I must admit, like, just to pop in on that, like, and I think Nick Golding has also kind of said, I think Formula E, I'm not going to say they're using Dan Ticktum, but they wanted Dan Ticktum to do be Dan Ticktum, because, like, look at our TikTok, for example. Look at our other TikToks. They got like 600 views, right? But we put a Dan Ticktum one out, and it's got 14 odd thousand odd views. And I think it's the exact same reason Formula E wanted Dan to be himself, because they know there'll be opportunities to create content which Formula E can benefit from. So, and Nick kind of went in that way, that really they're just using him in order for that. I don't know if that's something that you would agree or disagree on.
Even back to when he was in F2, this sort of thing used to happen, because they know that I think Alex Jakes described him as box office when he was in F2, because it didn't matter what you were saying on the radio, you were going to get gold out of it either way. And I think to some extent Formula E is doing the same kind of thing. They know that if they put any clips out about him, the clips are going to go viral. There's people that seem to actively look out for things that he's in just so they can have a go at him, which is a bit odd. But yeah, I think it's probably, from their point of view, it's good for engagement and that kind of thing. I do sometimes think some of the clips they put out, maybe they probably shouldn't have, but some of the weird things have been edited sometimes takes the context away, and he's pointed that out to them a few times, I think, as well. But I think, you know, if they've got somebody who brings as many eyes and as much attention onto the series as that, provided that they use that attention wisely, there's no real reason to avoid it.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment everything seems to be relatively sensible.
Yeah.
There haven't really been posting much that's clickbait, I would say.
Oh yeah, so that's a good thing. So, but yeah, it's just something I thought to be aware of. But yeah, obviously, just to wrap this section up, like, I'm delighted for Dan. Like, I'm a biggest Dan fan in terms of him as a person. I'm not going to say I'm like a big fan of his racing because I'm
I was
trying
going
to
to
be
say
neutral.
you are not the biggest Dan
Right?
Ticktum fan. You're not even the biggest Dan Ticktum fan in this 3 people here.
Yeah.
There is one person who's the biggest Dan Ticktum fan.
That's very true. I thought you were going to say I'm a Maximilian Gunther fan, but
No. You are though.
You are though, slightly. But I've always, tried my hardest to promote his good side, and I've always had lovely conversations with him. He's always been lovely to me, to be honest with you. And I'm lucky that we get to interact with him. So I am, I do like Dan, and I do really want Dan to obviously kind of shift his sort of image. But I know he's 25. I have this question to you. When he's 32, 33, 34, 35, in 10 years' time, wherever Dan Ticktum's racing, do you think that we'll still be having the same conversations about his image?
By that point, I kind of hope by that point that, a lot of the haters will have found something else to move on to, because some of the people that go on about what happened 10 years ago were probably 4 or 5 year old when it happened, and they didn't even know what a car was.
Yeah.
So it's quite embarrassing that they keep bringing this back up, and I'm glad that he openly talks about it a bit more to try and, make people understand how and why things happened.
Yep.
I do hope that the image has changed slightly, and I mean, hopefully by that point, if we're so much further into his career, he's got pole positions, race wins, potentially a championship, depending on where he goes. And that would shut people up as well, because I've seen a lot of comments over the weekend, people saying, oh, he's really arrogant, and he's all this, and he's only got 1 podium so far. And you just think, you've got no idea what that team has been through in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yep, 100%. Helen, it's absolutely privilege.
Yep. Very quickly before we go, Saturday playoff. What's the scoreline going to be?
Oh, Sunderland.
Ooh.
Sunderland, Sheffield United.
Hopeful. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I'm not very hopeful about it. I hope we can just maybe squeak it 1-0. I would take that.
Are you going?
Yeah.
I'm not going, but my cousin will be.
Okay.
Lovely.
Well, best of luck. I'd rather Sunderland go up than Sheffield United. But then I say that because on the other hand, if Sheffield United go up, then I'm like, well, how much for Jude Bellingham? But I don't know how good he is for Brentford. But yeah.
Yeah. I will say, if you don't, Helen will do I'll come up stadium night next season for Oxford.
There we go.
Yeah, definitely.
Swings and roundabouts, Swings and roundabouts. Helen, absolute privilege.
Alright, thanks guys.
No worries.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Right, so we are going to hear from Tobias Wirtz, who is from E4 News in a second, and we're going to be talking about Stoffel Vandoorne and the pit boost. But before we get him in, just a quick word on what you thought of the pit boost. Because I don't know if we've had a real sort of look into pit boost because it was a wet race, but I really, really liked the attack mode race, and I was a bit like I'm in an iron, like what is the best race format? And obviously we're going to talk, I want to actually ask around Jake's disqualification as well, and maybe a bit more information around that. But what did you make of those types of races?
The thing is that I've been adamant of having more races over the course of a weekend, and so for me, I think we can have both the attack mode format and the pit boost format. I think going into Gen 4, I'd quite like to see like a sprint thing and a feature thing where the sprint is lights to flag with the attack mode, and then the main race is the pit boost race. But I don't run Formula E, Jeff. If you're watching, just note that one down, mate. I think that we can have both these things in harmony, and I'll be honest, I'm loving pit boost at the moment though.
Yep.
I think it was really good. We had it first in Jeddah. I've forgotten how the Monaco race went because I think I was getting sunburnt at Swansea. From what I saw squinting through my eyes on Saturday, even though that it was wet, I thought it was really good.
Yep. But we are now joined by Tobias Wirtz from eFormula News. Tobias, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, very good, very good, very good. we're here to talk Stoffel Vandoorne because obviously Stoffel Vandoorne won the first race, but there's a lot of confusion about it because on the state of charge, and it says on the documents, which we'll get up a little bit later when we're ready for it, that it said that the charge is between 60% and 40%, but on the graphic he was at 67% and he was eligible for his pit boost. So I'm very interested, Tobias, about what you can share upon how Stoffel Vandoorne won the race on Saturday.
Yeah, I'd say that was a tactical masterclass of Maserati MSG Racing to do it that way. First of all, you have to know that there were some special things in Tokyo that applies for London too. What is that the energy that the drivers are allowed to use is less than in other races. Usually it's 38.5 kilowatt hours. But in Tokyo and in London, the drivers just have 32 kilowatt hours that they can use. But the pit boost, as you already said, is allowed when the battery is between 40 and 60% of state of charge. Yeah, you can see it in the graphics that Vandoorne had 68% in his battery of usable energy, but the sign next to his name shows that he was able to take the pit boost, and that just works because Maserati didn't charge the battery of this car completely to 100%. Because, as you see in the document on the right side, 32 kilowatt hours were available for the drivers. So what Maserati did is they charged the car, but just up to about 84-85%. And because of this, Vandoorne was quite sooner in the window between 60 and 40% to recharge and go to the pits. And make the pit stop, and that's what gave him the victory. I'm a bit surprised that no other team did the same strategy as Maserati did. Of course, you have to say, if you decide to go this strategy before the race, there's no way back. So other people could extend their stint before the pit boost, what Vandoorne definitely was not able to, because his state of charge was already lower than at the other cars. But I think it was tactical masterclass of Maserati MSG Racing to go for it. And of course, he had very much luck that the red flag was brought out right after he was at his pit stop.
Yeah. So just to clarify, the car is charged to about 84-85%. So but the number is still 68. So he's not at 60 yet. So just to really clarify, why wasn't it at 60 then that he could use it?
Yeah, that's not so easy to explain. The battery has a little bit more than 40 kilowatt hours. The drivers are allowed to use during the race just 38.5 usually.
Yep.
But as we all know, the cars don't stop when they reach the finish line and they get 0%. They have enough energy to go back to the pits, for example.
Yep.
So the graphics show just the allowed energy, not the
total
real energy that's in the battery.
Okay.
So if we say the battery has something about 40 kilowatt hours in total, Maserati MSG Racing just put 34 kilowatt hours in.
Yeah.
So the 60% state of charge does not depend on the 60% energy available. It depends on the 60% energy that's the capacity of the battery. So if it has
if he was
40 kilowatt hours sorry?
If he started that race at, so let's say the graphic for him would have been 100%, right? So if the Formula E would have shown that he was at 100%, but technically he wasn't at 100%. So he'd used down to what, if it was at 100%, down to 68. But however, he never started with that. Therefore, the car thought he was in a place where he could basically activate pit boost. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He had 60% of the 32 kilowatt hours available that he was allowed to use. But this does not mean that there's more energy in the battery or less energy in the battery. Yeah. The state of charge that gives the window for the pit boost depends on the real energy that's physical in the battery.
Yeah. So basically, the
graphic
must not be
the 100%.
Not wrong. It was right, but misleading, because we didn't know that they'd underfueled him or undercharged him.
Yeah, undercharged, you can say it. But I'm really surprised that no other team did it this way. He was the only one, and in addition, he consumed quite a lot of energy in the beginning to take this pit stop quite sooner, because it was a wet race, and in the rain the drivers have to brake sooner. They have to be more careful when going on throttle. So usually in the wet you don't use all of the available energy. Just can't do it because the track doesn't allow you to use all this energy. And I heard that that Stoffel maybe could do some changes to the settings, that he didn't regen so much as you do usually, because he wanted to get in the pit window sooner and change the setting after the pit stop back again to the normal settings. So he was able to stop at the end of lap 10, when, for example, Nick Cassidy was at 80% state of charge. He was quite far away to have the possibility to go to the pits. And then, of course, luck was on his side. Max Günther had the red car. He had to stop the car on track. I heard already some people thinking about
Stellantis.
Yes, absolutely.
Fernando Alonso, 2008, or 2008.
Yeah, Singapore 08.
Singapore 08. I did have a feeling that did cross my mind, but I was like, nah, there's no way the main team would do that for the baby team.
Exactly. Yeah. If it was that way, then it should be other way around. Then Maserati should stop on track, and the DS Penske should have been pitting. I don't think that's true, but it's an interesting strategy, and I'm 100% sure we will see other teams adapt this and do the same strategy when coming to London. Because in London we have the same thing, that there is less energy usable for the drivers, about 32% again. Kilowatt hours again.
Safety car in London is high.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have the possibility to gamble and go to the pits 3 or 4 laps sooner than anyone else, why not doing this? You have no risk when doing it that way.
100%.
Also in London, it never rains in the UK.
At least half the track's indoors.
No chance of something like that. Never rains here in London.
Honestly, a really good insight there, Tobias. It's incredible, but I think you're right. Like, teams will, once someone does it and it works, it is, people will try again and people will think, okay, that is a strategy. If we're at the back, something to worth thinking about, especially in London when overtaking is going to be very difficult. And if you play your cards right, and the races are short at the minute, and I think that works to your advantage, because obviously, Vandoorne was able to had that 25-second advantage even with the spin.
Yeah.
He's able to still win that race because he can save energy, and it'll, he's got such a big buffer that he can drive slowly, save the energy, and get to the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually you can't win a Formula E race when you do a spin in the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a big mistake, to be honest. And he's just lost 6 to 7 seconds in that lap, and still finished with more than 8 seconds in the lead. And tactile masterclass, I would say.
Masterclass indeed, and they planned it, and they said that they planned it. Tobias, absolute pleasure. Hopefully, some more interesting insights after Shanghai. And we'll definitely hopefully get you back on, especially if something interesting happens.
Also, can we just say, isn't it fantastic that Toby has his lower third now?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He deserves it. He deserves a lower third. And plus,
I know the last few times we haven't had it, so it's just nice to see it.
Because first time he didn't, because it was very late notice, and so we messaged prior for this one. But E-Formula D, E-Formula News are very, very close to my heart. I love the people there. We're the only 2 people remaining from season 1, right? So they're like extended family to Formula E Zone because we've been there from the start. So Timo, Teresa, everybody that is associated to E-Formula DE, former Tobias Bloom, who's no longer there, but what a legend!
Forever in our hearts.
Forever in our hearts.
Thank you very much.
He's not dead, but
he's not dead. Honestly, he's just gone to ZDF.
Yes, but we love you lot at Formula E Zone, and the respect is so huge, and the accomplishments that you guys have made can only be celebrated, and long may we continue to keep in this series and keep doing what we do.
I hope so. So thank you very, very much.
No worries.
Much appreciated.
Tobias, absolute pleasure. We'll speak to you soon.
Okay.
Right, bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. What an explanation. Like, I didn't know that had happened, and then he was explaining it to me before, and I was like, we need to talk. Absolutely incredible. But some housekeeping. We've hit. Well, we've got more. We've got 9 members now. 9 members. I've got to say thank you, Chris.
Oh, I thought you were going to say for the views.
Chris has become one, and Doriglio has become a member. Thank you so much. We're 1 away from 10. Who wants to make it 10? Why not? Also, we're doing
double digits.
Double digits. Why not? Also, if you are new round here and you haven't hit the like or subscribe button, do hit the like and subscribe button. It's the only show that Formula E fans can come on and have their say. So let's get some more Formula E fans.
And a reminder, if you do want to come and have a go and you're not in the Discord already, !Discord in the chat. Something will come up and you'll be able to join Discord. And we've got a nice little community. Everyone gets on with everyone.
Everyone loves each other. We're all Formula E fans, and it's the only place where you can have your say on the race. So let's continue with the show. And who would we like to hear? I'd like to hear from Sam. Sam is also a member. Sam, you are on the FE bar. How are you?
That was important. The members get priorities now.
Hi guys.
Slightly, but it's not pay to win. It's not pay to get on the FE bar. We can't have that. but if you're in the waiting room, then and we spot you, they were like, okay. But half of them now are members, so it's like, well, what do you do? But Sam, welcome to the FE bar. Thank you again for becoming a member. And what would you like to talk about?
No problem, guys. Guys deserve all the support from us, from the FE community, because you do great work.
We appreciate that.
I wanted to really talk about I had thoughts over the weekend, and just through like the practice sessions and the race, and just the way the race has panned out. The track layout at Tokyo, is this one of the best FE tracks we've had? With the changes from last year to this year, they have been mentioned, but I just felt it added so much to the races with like how the track was opened a bit more, the width of the track.
It's a proper FE track.
It is, and the speed of the cars on the track. Some of the camera angles during qualifying at that turn 10-11 chicane were brilliant. I think there's just some of the corners and especially turn 16 and stuff. It's great, honestly, just to see the drivers push and just have great racing on a street track, nonetheless.
Yeah, 100%. And I did speak to Alberto because this was the conversation, because I don't know if Formula E are doing the right thing with Gen 4, and I am questioning it a little bit by how fast these cars are going to be. And I'm starting to think, do they need to be this fast? Because I said to Alberto, I said, you've worked so hard and so long to get Tokyo on the grid. But if you've got a track that these cars can't race on, what's the point? Because you'll lose it.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to question whether or not Formula E are going in the right direction with Gen 4 about speed. I don't think speed is our priority. I really don't. I don't care. I don't want us to be a F2 speed. I don't think that's... I'm starting to think that that's not the right movement for Formula E. I want longevity. I want to see range. I want to see... They're the important things for electric cars. Not speed. Not speed. But speed is killing the London E-Prix, so we're going to lose London, right? Could it kill the Tokyo E-Prix? And if we're saying that the track is one of the best tracks in Formula E, but it is a bit tight. It is, that bump would never have happened, and they got rid of it for this year. But could we lose that one?
Yeah, I mean, they talked throughout the weekend about, I don't know if you guys saw, there was a motorsport.com article about it, saying about what Jeff explaining about what kind of talks they had about, making it a night race, which I'm all for, but then also about relocating it, and that scares me a bit, because you can't. I don't want it to go to a permanent facility, because it's just, again, it's another a pure street track the series is going to lose, when this, like say at the weekend, was absolutely brilliant. But then also, if you're going to risk moving that track and placing it somewhere else, with how these sorts of races are put up, there has to be really strong backing behind it.
Yeah.
And I can see that maybe in the future for Formula E, sure. But at the minute, you can clearly see with the calendar, there are clear compromises that, say, the quote-unquote Miami Eprix, that, they'll say it's Miami, but we all know it wasn't. And, we really need to try and strike a balance. Like, for example, the Miami Hard Rock circuit, that's a possibility. Brilliant. That's great, right? Mexico City, brilliant. In the city centre, on a facility that can accommodate it, brilliant. We do need tracks like Tokyo, because that's what the ethos of the series was supposed to be.
Yep.
But but it's striking that balance between, as you say, the speed. It's impressive, no doubt. But not only will you kill off venues like you've mentioned London, which is very, very special at as a unique venue.
Yeah, we've lost
Rome.
Rome, exactly. Yeah.
Admittedly, I think there was a cost thing to it as well, that Formula have to pay an extortionate amount for that to host that race and close the streets and everything. But
But you've got Rome on your calendar, like.
And that track was just magical.
Yeah. And also, there's no other, I'll be honest, acceptable replacements in Italy. The only circuit that is located near a city and somewhat in one is Monza in
and we're not
Italy.
Go down.
And that's it. And that the day we go to Monza is the day I think Formula E's work is done.
Yeah.
I can't see that.
I can't see it happening either. Not at this precise moment.
Maybe Imola.
Maybe
it's not really a.
It's a push. It's out the way.
Exactly.
You've got to get there. We want
admittedly
accessibility. It's part of the sustainability element. You get the fans. You bring the racing to the fans. That's what it was about.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, 100%. It was about bringing racing to the fans. Like, I don't know if this speed element and being as fast as I don't think. But then you could also argue, because I'm just saying that speed is what thinks that they're going to attract a big audience. They're going to have speed. The cars are going to be fast, and that's going to bring people to watch it because they're fast cars.
Yeah,
great. That seems like the marketing angle that they're going for.
200 miles an hour, quote unquote.
But they could argue. But they could turn up and say to us right now that we have tried great racing, and Formula E on its day can have great racing, but the racing hasn't attracted I know we're all fans, and I know we're fans here, but it hasn't attracted the fans the amount of following that Formula E wanted, right? And you can see that when we went to Miami, they hardly sold any tickets for Miami. Right?
They put big advertising things over.
But that was always going to happen. That was always going to happen because they were never going. That's 100,000 seated grandstand. They were never going to sell 100,000 tickets. They've never done that in their life. Like
wishful thinking.
So they had to do something for that.
I reckon they might not have even done that in a season.
But I don't. So they could argue that this might be the way that we have to go to try and get fans. But if that doesn't work, then what do we do?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with the speed element, the cars are going to have to get wider to accommodate this because of the safety, and, with the bigger battery, with current tech, it has to accommodate that. We know size and width of cars. We know it from Monaco. It does affect the racing quite significantly.
It does.
I just wish we need to have a fine balance. I feel like you're at this pace of getting to maybe an F3 level, which they're close.
Yep.
I think that's perfectly acceptable. F3, like Macau, I know it's a bit of an extreme example, but like
Macau would be brilliant for Formula E.
It just looks good, doesn't it? Like F3 speeds, the cars are small, they're zippy, brilliant.
And we're going to Sanya, right? Potentially for next season, but why? Why couldn't we not try to go to Macau?
Why?
Why
are we going to that?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, why? They had the perfect opportunity to go, right, let's try Macau. And you know what I had? You know what was really interesting? The Eric, who's the FIA media person, was talking to Dan Ticktum in the Monaco E-Prix media pen about Macau. Because it was the Macau, and they wanted to talk about and get some content from Macau and how special it is. And Dan Ticktum was like, I wish this series could go there. Like, I was like, why are you talking to Dan about this? But Dan's right. Why can't this series? Has it been looked at? It's a question to look. But then, if you're thinking about Sanya, we're going there. Then maybe it hasn't.
If Sanya, the circuit at Sanya, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same one as we went there before COVID. That circuit, the town Sanya, is about the same distance from Miami to Homestead.
Yeah.
It's on the wrong side of Hainan Island. Is it Hainan Island? I've forgotten what it's called.
Yeah.
Honestly, Sanya, brutally honest here, I think it's one of the worst Formula E venues we've ever had.
It's not aesthetically pleasing, is it?
No, it's not. It's
I don't know if they're going to use the same venue though. That's the next question mark. But we don't know for sure.
Yeah, but if they do, like from what I saw, because I had a quick zoom in on Google Maps and everything, it looked like that they just put it in and around a couple fancy hotels.
Yeah, that's precisely.
Off a resort, and that's not.
Precisely what.
And I'd rather do Homestead than Sanya. Easy, any day. They've got, the thing is, China, they've got some decent. I know we're never going to go back to Beijing, but the thing is, Wuhan had a good touring car circuit, and I know there'll be jokes about COVID and back and all that. Wuhan, there was a Wuhan World Touring Car race there.
Yeah.
Macau is constantly considered. There are so many sort of decent options, and one just over the border as well. The Hanoi Formula One track that never happened. Why don't we use a truncated version of that in Gen 4?
It's a growing market. If he wanted to go to Thailand, it's right there.
But that didn't,
try Vietnam.
It didn't happen. Yeah. Okay. Sam, it's been an absolute pleasure. Great call. I think that we got a bit riled up on that one. I'm sure that might be a clip.
Yeah, for sure. It has to be said, and we love these conversations.
Yeah,
it's part of the show, isn't it?
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. And we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. See you later.
Right, we might be
thinking about it. I just thought I'd throw this out there before I'm assuming we're taking a break before Nick at 9.
Yes, but Nick hasn't come into the rating room yet, which I'm just curious of.
But I will say that I think that could be an FE bar for the future, ranking every venue Formula E has ever been to.
There's tons.
Let's see what's the worst. Let's see. I'm fairly certain we know what.
I'm sure
the top 5 would probably be.
There was a chat in the FE chat, again, Discord. If you're not in the Discord, !Discord, where people were rating the best races or something like that. That could easily be an FE bar.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
don't
worry, don't worry, because we ain't stopping. We ain't leaving. When the off season comes on, we've got to try and keep these going for as much as possible. And,
you'll never get rid of us. You will never get rid of us. And now you're giving us money. You're really never going to get rid of us.
You're never going to get rid of us.
We will find you. And we will win up.
On that one, I have to say thank you to Ricardo, because he's become our 10th member. Unreal. We have 2 minutes. I want to talk, actually. So I'm going to talk.
Are we going to go for a break?
We will go for. Oh, Nick Golding is here in the waiting room, so I will park what I'm about to say. We will take a 2-minute break, and we will get to Nick Golding on the other side. So we'll see you. Have a break. Don't go anywhere. Come back. Go and get a cup of tea, a biscuit,
I need a
glass of water.
I'm taking the green thing off.
Don't
say bye to the green thing, everyone.
Say bye to the green thing.
Bye to the Hulk.
And we've got Nick at 9, and then after Nick at 9 is literally all your calls to the hour. If you still want to get on !Discord, join the waiting room, and our aim is to get as many people on. I know the waiting room's full, but we're gonna try and get all of you on. So we'll see you in about a couple of minutes.
nigga 9. It's nigga 9. It's nigga 9. Yo.
And we are joined by Nick Golding from Racing News 365. Hello, Nick.
Hello, mate. How are you? Every single time, by the way, now that intro plays, I just want to talk over it. I keep thinking, do I, don't know, but I feel like I'm upset. I know I did it once, but it's one of those things where it's like, I just want to interrupt it because I think it'd be funny.
Yeah.
But I'm good, though. I'm a little bit tired. It's been a pretty demanding weekend, obviously, with Tokyo, but obviously working in Formula 1 as well. So it's been some crazy shifts, but I do it because I love this job and get to do it again in a couple of weeks with Spain and Shanghai. But it was a good weekend. I'm glad we got a dry Sunday, which is the craziest thing I think I can say because I quite like a wet race.
Well,
but I was relieved to see. I was relieved to see it being dry on Sunday. My mind couldn't really deal with a repeat of Saturday, given that literally waking up, getting about an hour of sleep before qualifying. And then what the FIA took in true FIA fashion, I think it was about 45 minutes before cancelling it. And it's just the inevitable, isn't it? And I think any fan can agree as well. It's like when you see the delay by 10 minutes, further announcement in 10 minutes, then it gets to that time, and it's okay, further announcement, another 5 minutes. And it's like, guys, we know what you're going to do. Just do it. Let us go back to bed.
Yeah.
But no, eventually we did get to go back to bed.
I woke up I didn't wake up for the Sunday qualifying. I decided against it, and I knew it was going to happen. But I woke up for that one to know it was going to get cancelled. But I woke up for it just to watch it get cancelled because I knew it was going to get cancelled, and I thought better wake up just to double check if it gets cancelled, see what the rain actually looked like.
I sort of did the opposite. So my intention was I'm just going to sleep through everything and then watch the race on catch up. I eventually woke up at like 6:20 or something. I was like, okay, I'm up now. I'll watch the race. But whereas the Sunday morning after I'd passed out, I sort of woke up around about 3:30 and thought, FE qualifying's on, so I caught the final.
The thing that was still absolutely amazing on the topic of Saturday is obviously my big concern was, Tokyo wanted a doubleheader because there was so much interest from fans last year. Oh no, it's like monsoon-like conditions. All the fans are going to, rightly so, not attend because, none of the grandstands have covers in Formula E because obviously they're normally just kind of pop-up ones. But having spoken to Formula E, there was 19,000 die-hard Japanese motorsport fans who decided, you know what, we don't care about the rain and still went, which I think, I believe Japanese motorsport fans are the best in the world.
Oh, 100%.
They just go to another level. And the fact that they brave those conditions, which were nasty as well.
Yeah, English fans are good, but Japanese fans, you see them on, it's like 4 hours after the race and they're still in the grandstand just watching them pack up. Like, what are you doing, mate? Just go home. But yeah, let's talk.
That in the Excel.
Yeah, let's talk Oliver Rowland. Because, my God, right? He can't put a foot wrong, right? That's the saying. He can't put a foot wrong at this precise moment. And we're worried because obviously we're not in Jakarta, but we're in Berlin. But we're worried at this point that he could wrap up the title as early as Jakarta if he carries on this form.
This is unprecedented for Formula E. We've never really kind of seen this level of dominance in FE. Yet, we saw Antonio Felix da Costa a few years ago be pretty dominant, but also that was a weird season 6. But this is just, I didn't think we'd ever see this in FE because of the style of racing, the peloton racing. We, over the last few years with Gen 3, the last couple of years in Gen 3, have seen so many winners. Yet, he's won 4 of the first 9 rounds. He's been on the podium, I think it's like 7 times or something. He's only missed out on a place in the duels once. He started on the front row 6 times. It's like he has a 77-point lead, and I've done some maths and I put a tweet out about it. For the title to go to London, which is obviously what FE hope is going to happen because it's a big selling point, that the racing's so close it goes to the last race of the season. It's not going to happen because to be able to go to London, somebody needs to be within 58 points of him after Berlin. As things stand, he leads by 77 points. So the safe bet would be the title will be claimed in Berlin. Most likely, I think probably race 1 in Berlin. However, if he keeps up this current form, but more importantly, his rivals keep faltering, then he only needs, if he, by the end of Jakarta, has a 116-point lead, he will win the title with 4 races remaining and win the title in the Indonesian capital, which is an interesting place to claim victory. I would have thought. I don't know what the party scene is like out there. It's a long journey home, I suppose.
Well,
in
ask
first
Aisha,
class.
she'll know. It's just where she's from.
It's very humid. Very humid. Are you doing Jakarta?
I am not, unfortunately, because I'm somewhere else.
Fair enough.
I'm somewhere else and something very, very
I'll
cool.
be honest, I don't think you'll be missing much. I sort of walked out of the media centre and then looked like I'd run a marathon after standing around for 90 seconds. It's proper hot.
But the thing is as well, though, is I just, I don't see this form ending from Ollie. He's literally had, Sao Paulo he would have won as well if it weren't for the technical problem with obviously all the Nissan cars out there. He, obviously in Miami, it was a weird one because of the whole attack mode fiasco and everything. In Tokyo, that was the kind of race or the kind of weekend where if something were to go wrong, that was the place. You literally threw some of the wettest conditions we've ever had in Formula E at him, and he came out of it smelling of roses. It's remarkable. And actually, I saw somebody, I can't remember who, and I apologize if they're watching this, who actually commented under my tweet and pointed out that they reckon Ollie will probably win next season as well. Actually, I completely agree with that. The pecking order is going to remain probably the exact same, given that obviously full focus will be on Gen 4. Nothing can really happen, to be honest, with the Gen 3 over cars. You can make minor tweaks, but in terms of the powertrain, that's obviously under homologations. There's not a lot you can change to the cars for Season 12, which means that Nissan are still going to have probably the strongest package on the grid, which means that Ollie, who is just gelled with this car, I've never seen a driver gel with a car in Formula E the way he has. So it would almost, for anybody, and I don't endorse this if you are into betting, I saw in the Eurovision chat that there was a few bets being placed. If you're a betting person, I would
Chris.
Get
it's
it
just Christopher Warren. He's just scouts.
Chris puts 10 bets on for a day, probably.
Honestly, get your bets in now for Ollie to win next season and become just the second driver to not only win 2 titles in back-to-back seasons, because it just feels inevitable. And it couldn't have been happening to a nicer guy, to someone who has not only had a really tough career himself. It was only a couple of years ago we thought he was done in FE with obviously what happened with Mahindra, but it's also the fact that what he does for other drivers as well. Taylor Barnard, the fine example. Taylor wouldn't be where he is today without Ollie. There are so many drivers. Arvid Lindblad is another that Ollie supports and is often with when he's not racing in FE. And it's just a very feel-good story because he's a driver who deserves success. And Jakarta's my bet. I think it's going to happen. I really do.
Yeah. To be honest,
I have a very quick question because I didn't tune in for Saturday qualifying. Did Rowland get 3 points for pole, even though qualifying didn't happen?
No, you don't get you don't get that.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. It's just because I know Ollie got pole because of FP2, but I wasn't sure if he still got the points. So I thought if he did, that'd be a little bit unfair.
Yeah.
But,
I want to talk about. We might as well stick on. To be honest with you, in terms of next season, if Taylor Barnard is, I expect Taylor Barnard to still be in the series. But I think he could be one that could push Rowland. But I want to talk about Rowland's teammate because I know we had a discussion about this, and I have a big soft spot for Norman. Right, I'm gonna be honest. I have a soft spot for Norman, the journeyman of Formula E, and he's shown good 1 lap pace. Right, and the pace was there, but I would love to have been there to ask him what on earth happened. And then it's got me thinking because Nissan got rid of Sasha Fenestraz for Norman last August, which feels like a lifetime ago that happened. And I'm starting to sit here thinking I was also a big fan of Sasha Fenestraz, and I was like, if Nissan got rid of him, if I was a team principal, I'd sign him because what he showed in his debut season, I said there's potential there. You just need to wrap your arm around him, give him some confidence, show him some love, and I'm sure he'd be up there. And I'm starting to think now, have Nissan made a mistake? Could Sasha have done a better job with this car than what Norman's had?
I mean, I'll be honest. I was surprised that they decided to, part ways with Sasha in the first place, given not only how young he is, the fact that actually, as you point out, in his debut season, he was so strong. And we've seen before that drivers tend to then have a difficult second season. Obviously, Jake Hughes is now, ever since he claimed the podium in Jeddah, he's having a really tough year now. I think Sasha's a massive talent, and I think it's sad that. So I appreciate he's obviously racing over in Japan, I think it is, but
yes,
his career is kind of hit a bit of a pause in terms of progression up the ladder because of what happened in Formula E. I would love to see him come back. Obviously, he's also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a simulator driver for an F1 team. I'm not too sure who. I've got a good idea who would be, but I won't say it just in case I'm wrong. I'm given why they didn't give him another season. I don't quite know, because Ollie's the kind of driver with his experience who could help Sasha. And even Sasha pointed out himself a lot last season that he was learning so much from Ollie. Whereas, Norman isn't going to learn stuff from Ollie, you'd imagine, because they're a similar age. And I do think Norman's time in FE is and probably should be done. An absolutely lovely guy. But if Nissan don't win, to be honest with you, if they don't win the driver's title, the team's championship, and the manufacturers, given how dominant Ollie is, that for me would be deemed as a failure by the team. Because if you had a driver, to put it into a bit of perspective, where's Norman in the championship? He's 19th, if I'm not mistaken, on just 11 points. He claimed all his points in Miami. Of course, again, he should have won, or would have won that race if not for the attack mode chaos. But he's only finished in the points once all season with what is quite clearly one of, if not the best car on the grid, and that was obviously in Miami. Yes, okay, he made the duels in both race and Tokyo. Some things haven't gone his way. He's had some bad luck. But actually, there's been times this year where Monaco was a fine example, where Ollie was at the front throughout the weekend. Norman was nowhere. In Monaco, Norman qualified in 18th and 15th, finished in 14th and 13th. He just hasn't had the pace, whether it's, and it's, I think he probably knows it. You'd have thought his time's coming to an end in this series, because I don't think another team would take a chance on him, because whilst he's a quick driver, he's not showing that on a regular basis. I mean, he's made 4 dual appearances, which whilst on paper sounds really good, when you've got a teammate alongside you who is starting pretty much every race from pole position, if not on the front row, and is always in the duels, it very quickly paints a pretty bad picture for Norman. And my eyes, then it's something you hinted at, Jack, is kind of, where did Nissan go for next season? Because Taylor, whilst maybe would be, obviously a brilliant option, it depends on obviously on what Taylor's contract situation is, because obviously what it sounds like is that he's not contracted to McLaren Racing, he's actually contracted to more the actual team itself, which is in Formula E. Obviously McLaren is there as almost...
We call it the Ian James team at the minute.
Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. He's contracted to the Ian James team on a multi-year deal. So, and when I've asked Ian this several times, he's always said that, despite what's going on with obviously McLaren leaving, he has absolutely no concerns about Taylor and is, very much looking forward to seeing him blossom in his future. So you would imagine that the safe bet for Taylor would be that he'll be sticking with that Ian James team, let's call it. Maybe Nissan could try and get a deal, given obviously they supply their powertrain to the... It's so weird saying the Ian James team, isn't it, rather than not McLaren. But they need, I think, someone young, because if you're going to have a driver that can, be alongside Oliver Rowland, who's got a deal until it looks like 2028, he's going to be around for a while. You want a young driver to learn from the best, and I think it's something. I hope Nissan do it, because I don't think experience is the be all and end all. It will be very interesting, I think, come Berlin, to see who Nissan put in the car for the rookie test. Who they put in the cars for the rookie test, because that could maybe give us a small indicator at the direction it's looking at for season 12.
I just want to throw in there, because we just talking about McLaren there. Obviously, we haven't really mentioned it, but obviously McLaren had, Bristol Motion, which is where McLaren are based, had that huge fire on Thursday night. So just want to say thank you to all those who lost their lives on Thursday night. But I wanted to ask about Nissan, because we spoke about Nato's form. Obviously, we know he's missing a race. He's missing Berlin, and we're expecting Sergio Sette to be the person to replace him.
Sergio, yeah.
Is it if Norman hasn't performed by that point, would you put it past Nissan keeping Sette for London, and saying parting ways with Nato then and there?
I don't think it would happen. I mean, I don't think that's particularly fair on Norman. I mean, to be fair, I'm glad you said that because maybe, is Sergio a good option for Nissan next year? Perhaps he's actually, you'd imagine he's the easiest option. Although with Sergio, there's in the risk, the fact that he's obviously not been in the series for a year, hasn't been racing single seaters. So you could almost look and think, do they instead take a chance on, who knows, a Victor Martins? That'd be quite cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, someone said that in the chat, and actually, honestly, I think that for me would be my number one choice.
I think Sergio would be the obvious one and probably the safe one, but I think Nissan wouldn't be afraid to look elsewhere because I think they've realised that Norman maybe was a mistake, because you can't have one driver on 11 points and the other on, I think, 161. Like, that's it, 151 point difference between your two drivers after 9 races. I don't know if somebody can do some maths and do 151. Take away 11 and work out divided by 11. I was going to say the right thing.
I was about to say, I can do 161 minus 11. 161 minus 11 is quite easy, if I'm honest.
Sorry, mate.
Well, 100. Well, it's going to be around 14, 15 in it because.
So
133.
11 times by 9 is 99. 110. That is it's about 14, 15.
Yeah, it'll be around about there. With a decimal.
So for every point that Norman's getting, Ollie is getting 14, 15. That is insane. It is insane. And the thing is that you don't see that difference in any other team.
13.72. There you go.
I honestly, if Porsche end up winning the teams and/or the manufacturers' championship, there's going to be a lot of eyes and a lot of questions around Norman. And again, he's a lovely guy, don't get me wrong, but motorsport is ruthless. And with everything Nissan have going on, they're making another 11,000 people redundant, closing 7 more factories. Believe it or not, in the last year, they've actually cut 15% of their workforce. If they were to win all 3 titles, I don't think there's another manufacturer on the grid. It would mean more too, which is why Norman he's got to find something. Because if he does, it could save his career in Formula E. Because obviously, if he loses his seat, likely he'll just be WEC full time.
Yep.
Because this is massive for Nissan, and I really do hope they get along the line, and so does Norman.
Yep. Nick, have to cut it here. Absolute thank you for coming on, and
all good.
Love Shanghai.
He is not Shanghai.
I'm not in Shanghai because very good reason.
Visas.
I was supposed to be in Shanghai. However, unfortunately, the day that I was due to fly out is now the day that I will be in Poland watching Chelsea lose the.
Course. Well, Brentford mucked me up on Sunday.
I'll be honest. I'm looking forward to the Europa League.
But yeah. But anyway,
it's also visas weren't going well.
Visas weren't going well. It's always a tough place to go. Right.
Yeah, Nick, no. I had problems with a couple of visas in a couple of places.
We'll talk to you after Shanghai. Maybe Chelsea would have got all 3 European Cups at that point, and what can we do? Can we do a rain check? What is the Liverpool-Brighton score? I need to know.
It was 1-0 Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yes.
I don't know what the score is.
Come on, Liverpool.
Just see what the score. It was 1-0 after 8 minutes. Is it still 1-0?
I don't know.
Oh, it's 2-1.
To who?
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Oh, thank God. Don't scare me like that, chat. Don't scare me.
You know the most.
How many?
But you know what is
not long.
The problem
half
is
hour.
Mo Salah has done nothing. In fact, he's just missed an open goal.
For God's sake. I need Liverpool.
FPL.
With Brentford losing to Fulham on Sunday, I was there. It was gut wrenching. I need Brighton to lose and Bournemouth to lose in the weekend. I can say this weekend that game never happened, and it goes to the last day, and it'll be a European extravaganza in the Premier League to see what happens. Whether you get Champions League or we get Conference. But anyway, we've got to go because we've got to speak to loads of people.
Right, see you later, guys.
Bye.
Yes, Nick. Love you, bye.
Right. I don't know who to get on next. I really don't. I'm getting Nicky on. Right. Nicky, you're on the FE bar. Everyone in here is a member. It's like it's hard now. Who do I pick? Nicky,
I'm on there, aren't I, mate?
You are. Everybody's on there. We should have the pictures should be up there now. Anyway, you're on the FE bar. What would you like to talk about?
What pictures, Jack?
Once we get past 8 members, your names appear on our channel.
Oh wow.
Or your little like logo for whatever your picture is for YouTube.
I just want to go on record and say I've got no idea what this means.
It just means it's just nice, isn't it? People can log into our members now can go on our YouTube page and see their name. Lol.
I think my YouTube picture is a picture of Sam when he was in.
Give it time to update. It might take a day to update.
Yeah. Okay, then let's go back to Formula
Formula E.
There's a couple of things I've got to not rant about, but have a discussion about.
Yep.
I know you was talking about specific tracks earlier, and I agree with you, Jack, about the Gen 4. Yeah.
Yep.
But is that then going to make the evolution of Formula E go backwards if we don't have the speed?
I don't think. Look, speed's important, right? But do we need to be as fast as F2? Like, do we need to be at F2 pace where we're now going to go to racetracks because we can't build street circuits anymore, and we don't make enough money, and Formula E doesn't attract enough people to merit closing down streets, let's say. And so therefore we're going to struggle.
Okay, then why can't we take the ethos of going somewhere, for an example, like the permanent circuit that in Singapore that Formula One race on? That's still technically classed as a street circuit, but it's a permanent circuit.
Well, it is a street circuit. Yes, but would Singapore want us?
I don't know.
And that's the question. If we're not going to bring the fans to Singapore, or if the Singaporeans and the Asian community don't see Formula E as a worthwhile trip to Singapore for Formula One is a global reach of tickets. Yeah, right. Everyone from around the world will go. So, are you? British fans? It's unlikely for British fans or European fans to go to Singapore, for example, and that's the question. So we might have the fast cars, but if they're not selling tickets, then what's the point?
Formula One, they're going to go to Zandvoort in the Netherlands as from, I think it's this year or next year, right? Yeah. Why couldn't Formula E go to somewhere like that, which is a Europe? It would
I think it'd be good.
Bring back a race to Europe.
Yep.
And maybe and no connotation to Formula One, because Formula One will no longer race there, for an example.
And actually, that's one that I know that Jack Smith from Motorsport Week has said about that he would like to push for
but this is
for Formula E to use from Gen 4.
Going back to Sam, the ethos of Formula E was we brought the race to the people, right?
Maybe because it's got too big. Maybe we need to change that ethos. And maybe
it hasn't got too big. Formula E hasn't got too big. Formula E is a baby.
No, what I'm saying is the cars are going to get bigger and they're going to get faster, aren't they? So
not necessarily big. They'll get faster. They might not get bigger.
You know what I'm saying?
We've got faster and we got smaller. Because I've got Gen 1 at work.
Well, look at
That's huge compared to.
And if you go back to the 2003, 2004 F1 cars, they are tiny compared to.
They're so tiny.
They're tiny compared to the F1 cars of today.
At the moment, and I'm going to do a small, tiny little plug here. That's okay. So at the moment, we've got our 75 years of Formula One at the Silverstone Museum, and we've got loads of Formula One cars on display at the moment. We've got Lotus 75 next to DC's McLaren from the 2000, Jensen's Brawn, and Danny Rick's Red Bull from his first year. Then we've got George's car from 2023 in front of it, and widthways. And it's as long as those four cars put together.
Yes, but my point is, Formula One cars are bigger than Formula E cars, and they can still race on street tracks because they race in like places like Baku and Singapore, and their street tracks, and their cars are massive compared to a Formula E car.
Yeah, but
so we potentially stay in places like Tokyo.
Yeah, but the problem is it's the speed, right? So. Is this circuit safe? And that's the problem. Like, London doesn't become safe, so we have to move away, right? Is Tokyo
my personal opinion, Jack, Jack, is, I'm sorry to say this, we may end up at a lot more permanent circuits.
But I think that's where
I don't mind them if they fit the ethos.
Yeah, we're probably going to Madrid. We're probably going to Jahama, next season. That's probably going to be on the grid. That's probably going to be the TBC, right? Potentially, right? That's what's being discussed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Formula Re did a test day, cool, the track's a bit alright, and then they go, right, bam, bish, bash, bosh, it's like, oh, we could race here, happy days. It's kind of like a happy days scenario rather than, thinking about I don't know. Like,
I don't know either, but I agree with you, Jack, and we should keep it as it is, but maybe because of the evolution of the speed, we won't be allowed to keep
my issue is it speed that we're looking for, or is it range?
I think the thing is, for me, and I'm just sorry for butting in here, Nikki,
no problem.
But for me, I think we are sort of 90 to 95% there on speed.
Yeah.
And I think Gen 4 will be quicker, but that is sort of the upper echelons of the speed of the car. We do not need to go any quicker than that.
Yeah.
But the thing that I will bang on about, and I have banged on about it, on how many FE bars on over the course of the last year have I said range, the races need to be longer, because the races are just they're too short. I've moaned about the battery, and I've moaned about the battery, and that we have less energy now than what we had in Gen 2, and but it feels like.
Maybe with that said, then, Jack, we use the pit boost in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I'd love. Yeah, I like the idea of pit boost.
Yeah, 100%.
Make the races longer, and
yeah.
I think
I agree with that.
I think an hour and 15 minutes, no more. That's what an hour and 15. No more.
So how F1 have the 2 hour curfew?
Yeah.
For me, I was thinking 90-minute curfew, but races can be. The thing is with the F1 thing. So you get Singapore's traditionally a 2 hour race.
Yeah.
And then Monza's 1 hour 20.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of variation there. And why not have that sort of variation? We can have races that are 62 minutes long, or we can have races that are 1 hour 27. We can have that sort of variation. Why not?
Yeah. No.
Why not? Because we had it in London when it was raining. We was there for 3 hours, I think it wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was just 'cause of the amount of red flags. And I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And me and Jack were there in the media centre that day. We wanted
to
go home. We wanted to go home by the end of that.
Yeah.
We were sort of like, no, not another one. You're joking.
Yeah.
Right, Nikki.
Just going back to the weekend as well, I was happy for Dan as well, and obviously Oliver. I think I can honestly say that he's on course, and hopefully keep my fingers crossed for him.
Indeed. Right, Nikki, absolute pleasure.
All right, no problem, fellas.
No
I'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon.
All right,
bye.
Bye.
Right, I'm gonna get Saz on. Saz, you're on the
Is
FE bar.
it because Saz just said that in the chat, and so we're continuing to talk about this?
No, I don't know what Saz wants to talk about, but she's been in the waiting room for a long time, and hopefully she's here just because she's still currently on mute. But there we go. Saz,
there we go.
You're on the FE bar. What would you like to talk about?
No, I'm just agreeing with Pico's point, and I've been saying this for a while, that we should have I think we should have one on double header weekends, one pit boost, and make that race longer, and then the other race attack modes and maybe slightly shorter. But I definitely think sort of around the hour 15, depending on the circuit would work really well.
No, 100%. Well, the race in one of the races in Tokyo, I think, was nearly an hour long. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been it was the red flag one. That makes sense. That makes sense. There was an actual racing
red flag
in that.
One was an hour and 27 or something.
Okay.
But that included the red flag.
Yeah. So.
I'm talking without the red flags.
Yeah,
or
without the red flags. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that's what I'm thinking. I didn't have down. Sam has literally just dictated the way the show's gone tonight in terms of his chat, because I didn't have this down as a talking point, but we've gone into it. Like, I generally think I'm starting to just have doubts on what Formula E are trying to achieve with Gen 4. And I'm like, is speed what we need? Or is it range? And what do people, we're trying to persuade people, or we're trying to improve the technology for people to go out and me to eventually buy an electric car. I don't know how many of us have an electric car. I don't know. But that's what we're here to do. But I don't think anyone really cares about speed for electric vehicles. They care about making sure that they charge you up and they don't have to charge you up again in 5 minutes. And I don't think Formula E have done enough. Yes, they have. Right, they have done a bit, but I feel like that should be the priority, is to keep proving that we're making these steps. And I don't know if going for this speed and racing on these tracks that we're going to be racing on is what we should be doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think what gets people into racing is not the speed. If you want speed, you can just watch a drag race. But it's like I said in the chats, sports cars has got a lot more popular now. And sports cars, they're slower because, of course, they're heavier. They're still fast. But it's like, it's great racing. It's wheel to wheel. It's overtakes. It's battles. You don't know who's going to win. And I agree with you, like, what's the point of having a pit boost and your race is still 40 minutes without... more or less like without red flags, because if you buy an electric car, unless you're maybe on the autobahn in Germany, you're not going to be going at 300 kilometers an hour anywhere unless you kind of want to die, but don't do that. And but yeah, I mean, still a lot of people, the biggest misconception about electric cars is, oh well, it's okay for running around the shops, but not if I want to drive, to the other side of Spain or something, which takes about 8-10 hours, and it can be done. But yeah, Formula E they've sort of gone more into, they've not sort of forgotten their ethos of, we want to promote the sustainability and the technology, and it seems a bit less like they've sort of, that's being put on the back burner now.
Yeah, I do believe that. Like Lewis in chat.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just want to throw it because one of my mates has got an EV. And when we went up to Liverpool a couple of years ago for the Eurovision Song Contest, cheeky little plug, that was on at the weekend. If you didn't know, and so he had to stop halfway going up to Liverpool. And admittedly, that was 2 years ago. But the thing is, like, it's a common thing with EVs, that range is always an issue, and we have moaned and whinged about the fact that we had 45-minute plus 1 lap races, and we've now gone to these some races. I think the one that I think you refer to most, Jack, is the Misano last year. That was a 37-minute race or something.
Yeah, 34. One of them was.
Oh, that was a terrible race.
And you're paying all that money for a ticket for 34 minutes of racing. Like, seriously?
Like, my idea, like, I'll be honest, in terms of a sprint, I was thinking 40 minutes. And then you have the main race, which is around over an hour, but between an hour and a half, dependent on race distance. I still think
an hour and 15 is, that's my max. But Lewis said in chat, right, and this is an interesting question. He said speed sells, and I'm not 100% sure I agree with that. Lewis, get on the Febar, talk to you about it.
I think,
like,
I think
in motor racing, Formula 1 is fast, but is it the sound that sells? I know maybe back in the day that's what sold. I don't know.
The thing is, and the thing is, I do sort of work in an area where people talk a lot about motor racing, weirdly, and the main criticisms that people have always had of Formula E, because I've always sort of like tried to throw it in and just to see how people react to it, and some people go, I enjoy watching it. It's a great series, and then some people go, washing machines, and stuff like that. And so, those are the two extremes, by the way. The one thing that I always used to get about it was that they were always so slow. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't heard that in, I'd say, at least half a decade.
Yeah.
Whereas the thing that people always still tell me about is they do sound awful. And admittedly, I think they sound a lot better in person than they do when you're watching it on the telly. But it is one thing that I hear about the most.
When I talk about when people talk to me about Formula E, don't know anything about Formula E, but know that I cover it, right? They always talk to me about how it sounds. I don't know if that's the same with you, Saz, when you're talking to new people about Formula E, and they talk about what's the sound like, and I think that's the thing that is the selling point for, not the selling point, but maybe the thing that is stopping Formula E from being growing. It's because they don't know the sound.
Yeah, I think they're definitely. I've had a lot of people say sound. Even I know some people who work for like an F3 team, and even they were talking about the sound, and I'm like, but guys, good racing.
Yeah.
And I don't think with the speed is, because we race on tracks like Monaco. Like you watch the F1 in Monaco, and everyone says, "Oh, it's boring." It's like the cars can't go that fast around Monaco, and it doesn't leave for much overtaking. But with Formula E on the real, the genuine street circuits, you don't actually have to go that fast. It's not a Monza. It's not none of the good circuits. They're not temple of speeds. You get the sort of high speed racing on the permanent circuits. But yeah, with the sound, I don't know. They could almost put in like fake engine noises, I guess.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
I don't know. I really don't know what to do. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's the thing. EVs just sound like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like noises, and I went to see the a European Le Mans series, and I had to have headphones in because it was awesome but so loud.
Yeah.
Right. I've thought of the solution. Does anyone remember the United States Grand Prix from a couple years ago? That guy who screamed into the dead cat and made the noises.
Oh, that's maximum gunfire!
Go away, Google.
Together! That one,
Yeah, no. That one. That guy. Anyways, my Google Gemini thing has just woken up, and it's now looking for dead cat noises, which I'm very concerned about. So, yeah.
And
looking for being investigated. For that.
Saz, I've got to cut it there. Absolute pleasure though, and it was good to have you back on the FE bar.
Yay, nice talking to you again.
Nice talking to you. See you later.
Shiny.
Right, let's keep the party rocking. I am going to go for, I think we'll get a bit more Dan Ticktum. We'll get a bit more Lou.
T, have you come down from the ceiling? It's the same question than Helen, but I know. Have you come down from the ceiling yet?
Yes, good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Yes, I've come down from the ceiling. But to be honest, when I was watching, I could not sit on the sofa. I had to walk through the living room just to get it through. But...
Yeah, no, I had the same thing.
It's madness, isn't it? It's like
when Oxford United.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like when you're watching football and you can't watching through your fingers, and it's amazing that you kind of got that same feeling for Dan Ticktum.
Yeah, it was so stressful. That last couple of laps, it was so close. Also, it was like,
because Taylor was chomping at his bits.
And with Rowland and Pascal, it's just so close how they drive, and it was so clean relatively. Unfortunately for Taylor, he ended up in the barrier, but other than that, it went fairly clean. So wow, that was something.
Yeah, it was I'm happy for Dan, and it's nice that he's finally got that duck off his back. He's got that first podium. You know, people are not gonna say that he's, he's just in there for the numbers, or he's just, he's actually proven that he is a top quality driver, and I think that's the most important thing from that weekend.
How much do you think Dan needed that result?
Oh, very much, of course. It's like this is the year that the car is there, semi to do that. It's still the old Porsche. It's not the new Porsche, of course, but there's a decent car compared to what they had previously. And yeah, it took a couple of races for him to settle into it. And it seems from Monaco onwards, he has dialed in, the team has dialed in, and they're sort of getting the maximum out of it. So that's really good to see. And if you can do this with still a team that was in survival mode a year ago, maybe was no team, there was stress if there was a seat, to see that where they are now, how they got so much better, it's insane. And also the fact, it was funny, we were talking about this, how you were not expecting to be better now than at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, I think I made a prediction in the first FE bars of the season that could be the case.
Yep.
That beginning would be a bit more difficult.
I do remember this conversation that you did say that actually it might, take a bit of adaptation time, and then once they've got the hang of it, that they'd be better. And obviously we've seen Monaco, we've seen Tokyo, so now they're starting to show their hand a little bit.
True. I do wonder if they can keep that up, because there's only so much you can dial in, and then that's it.
Yeah.
There will not be that much updates, I would think. But still, if you can do this in a year-old car with a team that's still probably not fully, it's functional, but it's like it's a small team still. That's really good.
Yeah.
He really needed it. You saw it really in his face, in his smiles the whole weekend. And also what the team said, I was listening to the radio, and it was so good. Like after the qualification, which was insane to watch. Shame you slept through it, but it was like he crashed, but the team boss came on the radio and said all the right words.
Yep.
Uplifting, looking forward. It was really.
It's kind of the perfect time to crash, isn't it? Because you're going to start second. Like.
Yeah, if you're gonna take risk, that's the moment to take risk.
That's the time to take a risk.
Yeah,
I mean, I was gutted because I was ready for a Dan Ticktum pole, but
definitely.
And it would have been something, but it just shows, and whether or not the team can continue this into Shanghai. My final question really was, I've been harping on about when they were Neo, and maybe when they weren't Neo and they became ERT. Was that the moment to stop building their own powertrain and become a customer? Do you think the team should have maybe looked at becoming a customer a tad bit earlier than they did, even maybe back into the Neo 333 days?
Yeah, I would think so, but it's always easy to say in hindsight. But it was really their business case to have their own technology. That's what the team boss said, what the owner said. It was their business model to have that, and to be like a good starting point for a manufacturer coming in and going forward. That was the whole idea, if I understand correctly. Well, that did not really happen, but luckily the Forest Road Group came by, and therefore there was money to change that around, because maybe they could not make that decision, because I think you also get money if you're a manufacturer. You get more money from Formula E, right? From the championship itself.
Yes, some sort of prize money thing.
Especially with the manufacturers championship, there's got to be some prize money for that.
Yeah, so maybe they needed that to survive anyway. I don't know how much of a choice it was for them to do that.
Lou, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
No worries. Great talking to you, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Fingers crossed for some more good performances from Dan.
Yes. Have a good evening.
And you.
You too.
Right, I am going to get Connor in. Hello, Connor. What was that, Mr. Pickering? What have you got, like a bat in your room?
No, I've got like a little moth.
Oh, it's just a moth. It's all right.
Because I caught it in my hand, and then I went to see if I did catch it, and then I and then it flew away, so I tried clapping it in the air again.
But yeah, Connor hasn't responded yet. We'll give him 2 seconds. If he doesn't respond, then we will pop him back into the chat room, and I will get somebody else. but we'll try Connor again in a minute. We will try Connor again later. Connor, if you're listening, we tried you. Come back later. Let's go, Ricardo. Ricardo.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you again for becoming a member during the night. Absolutely, massively appreciate it. Thank you so much. And what would you like to talk about?
Well, I actually want to talk about Seb Boemi.
Go on.
So, yeah, Seb Boemi. What a man.
What a man.
Where was this Seb Boemi in season 10, in season 8? And it is the Seb Boemi of Gen 1 of season 5. Because, yeah, he won in Monaco, and then he went and almost won the first race in Tokyo. And then in the dry, we could say that Boemi is doing good in this type of cars in the rain. And then in the dry, he just did a P9 with an Envision that has been struggling for most of the season. And yeah, I'm actually happy for Boemi because I follow Formula E constantly since season 6, and I didn't get to see this Seb Boemi.
Yep.
The Seb Boemi that was dominant and just managed the races so well, you know. And then yeah, I'm basically, I don't know. It's turning out to be I'm transmitting that I love Seb Boemi more than Da Costa, but it's not true. It's just that he's doing so well.
Yeah, no, I think it's got to be confidence, right? It's got to be confident.
Yeah.
Right, you start putting a good run of form together. He gets the win in Monaco, and he gets into Tokyo, and he's there again. He's like, yeah, right. He's feeding off the confidence. So, for me, I think it's got to be down to that.
Yeah, it is, and it showed in the team radio when he won in Monaco, because he was just shafting Formula E aside.
Yeah.
And then he won in Monaco, then before in Tokyo. And then he did well in the second race as well. So yeah, it's a shame if he eventually leaves in the end of the season. Of course, we have Shanghai, Jakarta, Berlin, and London to see if these results keep up or just turns out to be like the first part of the season. But yeah, I'm liking this Sebastian Buemi, to be honest.
It wouldn't surprise me, right? Because I think he was down in the dumps, was Buemi Pico, and I think you know, like. If these performances and if he can score a couple more points, who knows? Sebastian Buemi that might be leaving the series, he may stay.
Yeah. All season we've really talked about him potentially being out at the end of the year, and then something just clicked in Monaco, and and like Ricardo was saying, it's Seb Buemi of old. He's risen like a phoenix, and now he's back to where he was and back to winning ways and close to the podium. I mean, like, Envision were bottom in the team's championship before Seb Buemi won in Monaco, and yeah, he's clearly found something that's helped him get back up there. Because I'll be honest, the situation kind of looked a little bit dire at Envision at that point. They were sort of I'll be honest, in that 2-month break, they were kind of my pick to potentially be at the bottom of the table come the end of the year. Yeah. And now it looks like they've found something that they can utilise. Robin still picked up points this weekend. He was there or thereabout. But yeah, Seb just looks like he's a man reborn, and and it's so good to see as well, because he's just had he and the team have had such a not great last year and a half or so, and yeah, it's just nice to see him and that team sort of get back to where they should be, really.
Yeah, I fully agree. Da Costa, we might as well talk about him. It wasn't a great weekend. He retired in one of the races.
Okay.
He was hit by Nick de Vries.
Right, because I was going to ask, what did he do this weekend? Because I can't remember.
Ricardo will know what he did. This is his favourite driver.
Yeah.
That's why we're calling to him.
Ricardo, what did the Costa do this weekend?
So the Costa did. So they couldn't qualify. So the order for the first race was the FP2 result. So he started P11, and then he did all right. He did have a May off a start, and then he went back up to P7. He was in the fight for maybe P5, P6, I think.
Yeah.
But then he lost out massively. And then in the second race, he went through to the duels. Did not qualify as well as Pascal, started P7.
Yep.
And then it was like P7, P6, and then he when the full course yellow came out, he just outbraked and crashed into I think it was, I don't know if it was Mortar or
it was
the guy in front of him.
Yeah, it was a Mahindra. It was a Mahindra.
He broke the front wing.
Yeah, it was a Mahindra.
The front wing and then race over. So it was a mistake, and it's from Jeddah onwards. It's the Costa season, to be honest. Which is a shame because in Sao Paulo and Mexico, it was the favorite to win this whole thing, and then it's coming down to this. Yeah. Rowland is not getting results from P2 below, so.
Yeah. At the moment, Antonio Felix da Costa and Pascal Wehrlein need to start scoring podiums and being in the top 5, basically, to just make sure that the Rowland doesn't win it in Jakarta, that it gets extended, basically, or is there to pounce if in Shanghai, for whatever reason, Rowland has a bad race. They've got to be first and second and taking maximum points away from Rowland if he was to have a bad race. So it's all on Porsche, basically, and because I don't even think McLaren are. With Taylor Barnard, I just don't think he's consistent enough. I think he's quick, but it's just not working out massively for Nissan, for McLaren.
Yeah, and the Porsche need to be the Porsche of the first 3 races.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they were the dominant force. They were dominant in preseason. They were dominant in Sao Paulo and in Mexico. So where is that momentum gone?
Oliver Rowland's killed it.
Yeah, Oliver. The answer is Oliver Rowland.
Yeah.
Period.
He has absolutely killed it. Ricardo, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you guys.
No worries. We'll speak to you soon. Hopefully after Shanghai.
Yeah, guys. Cheers.
See you later.
Bye.
Right, so we're getting through them. So we've got.
Should we give Connor a second go?
Give Connor a second go. I think I've kind of.
Fingers crossed for his laptop, everyone.
I've kind of made my order. I think we're going to end with Natalie today, and we'll do Connor, then Chris, then Natalie. Oh no, don't. We might end with old Edward Honda. Connor.
Hello. Yes, he's here.
Hello, Connor. Welcome to the Effie Bar. Thank you again.
With my laptop all day.
Thank you.
It just died on me as soon as you put me in the Discord call, so that was fun.
Is what it is. It's the memory in it from one place to another. To be honest with you, we didn't even know we were going to be starting a show. I came on the Discord and my mic wasn't working for whatever reason. It was working on the stream. It wasn't working.
And it was like 7:59 before I heard his voice for the first time tonight. Everyone.
And I was like,
boom. It was.
Let's go. So we used that 5 minutes before the show starts just to debrief. But what would you like to talk about?
I want to talk about something. It's come up quite a few times this season, but obviously we've had, I want to say, quite a bit more wet weather this year than we've had in previous years. It definitely feels like.
Talk about climate change.
No, I'm not going to talk about climate change. I did my dissertation at university on wind farms, though, so I probably could talk about it for quite a long time.
Well,
my question basically is, should Formula E bring in a specific wet weather tyre?
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
Oh, never mind then.
They are bringing in a specific wet tyre. That was the whole Gen 4 remit for the tyre supply.
Sorry, Jack, I'm just going to stop you there for a second because Brighton are 3-2 up.
Are they actually? Hold on a minute.
Yeah. No. According to Saz. Sorry.
Oh my God, they are.
I've cut that a little bit. Sorry. We can go back to Formula E. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yes, they're getting
Screw
all-weather
it with the
tyres.
tyres. Let's look at this.
Yeah.
Let's analyse this. Oh,
Yeah.
25 shots on target for Brighton, and they've scored 3 of them. You've done poor there.
I'm not a Liverpool fan. I'm a Brentford fan. So this Brentford's Europe is over unless
I'm watching his delayed reaction on stream.
Unless Tottenham beat Brighton Tottenham aren't going to beat Brighton on the last day of the season. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Oh, God. Oh well.
Right. Sorry. Proceed.
Wet weather tyres. We should have them. But we are apparently getting them, so I didn't know that.
We are getting them, yeah. So Bridgestone are...
Yes, Bridgestone, isn't it?
It's a monsoon
Are Bridgestone
tyre.
coming in for Gen 4, or are they coming in next year?
Bridgestone are coming in for Gen 4.
However, I would like to point out, because when I was watching...
Right.
I think it was in Monaco.
Go on.
But there was a VT where James Rossiter was driving a Formula E car. Was that in the Monaco coverage? But he was wearing a Formula E race suit, and it had all the sponsors on it, but it had Bridgestone about there. That's something that I just thought I'd throw out there, a little.
Well, it's definitely coming in Gen 4. They're not here next season. It's still Hankook.
We know. Yeah, no, we know they're coming Gen 4, but
So, to answer your question, Connor, it's not a slick tyre, so the dry tyre is not a slick tyre. It's still it is still an...
I knew that.
Should be.
It is still...
It should be, yes. I agree it should be, yes. If we're bringing in a wet weather tyre, yes.
It's still an all-weather tyre. Now, the all-weather... if it was to rain, that all-weather tyre will still be the tyre.
It's just if we got big rain like in
Tokyo, that's when so it's a monsoon tyre.
Yeah, because I swear we had a monsoon tyre in season 1 or Gen 1. I remember hearing about it. We just never got to.
Never.
Sorry.
What's going on with Jack? Jack's just
got
been attacked by a bug.
I killed the moth from 10 minutes ago.
Okay. Congratulations. Yeah, because no, there wasn't a wet tyre specifically for Gen 1 in the Gen 1 era. I do think you were right. I do think there was talk about it, but it never came about. So obviously the monsoon tyre thing came about after London, where there was red flags, and they said maybe we should do something. And they put that as part of the Gen 4 remit. So if it is only excessively wet rain, then that is when they'd use it. If it was intermediate type rain, then they would stick with the all-weather tyre. It's only if it got too much and they couldn't. So if maybe qualifying wouldn't have got cancelled. It'd be pointless if we have a monsoon tyre and qualifying for Tokyo still gets cancelled, because then what's the point?
Like the full wets in Formula 1, where as soon as it gets wet enough for the full wets to actually work, they red flag it.
Yeah, so it's one of those catch-22 situations. Like, it has to work. If it doesn't work, then what was the point? So we can't be, but Formula 1, as I said, had a monsoon tyre back in the day. So and that seemed to work fairly well for them back in the day, and that was probably before I was born. It's like a long time ago that F1 had a monsoon tyre, but we just have to see how it goes with.
I think he's turning 30 this year.
Yeah. Don't say that. That's next month.
Is it next? Oh my God! It's next month. Oh yeah, no, it's
next.
Yeah, you're end of June, aren't you? Yeah, you're 1 month to 30, mate. Oh
my God!
Dear.
Hashtag old man alert.
Oh God! Don't.
The walking sticks in the post.
Don't come on! Don't kick a man down when Brighton's gone 3-2 and ruin my European dreams.
Yeah, no, you've had a horrible last 5 minutes.
Horrible,
of this show, haven't you?
Terrible, and my throat's gone. But Connor, I'm going to leave it there because I've still got to get 2 more people on.
Yeah, no worries, man.
But thank you so much for becoming a member, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Yes, sure. Bye-bye.
No worries,
When's the next race? 2 weeks from now?
2 weeks.
I'll see you then.
2 weeks Shanghai.
Ciao, ciao.
Lovely. Ciao, ciao.
Pico, introduce this one. I'm dying.
Right, yeah, no, Jack's dying, so we've got Chris coming on. So, hello, Chris. How are you?
How are you doing, old man?
No, I'm not the old. He's the old man.
I know you're not.
Yeah, very
He's
well.
the old man. I'm only 26. Like I'm still
got a couple of years.
Closer to 30 than I am to 20, and I turned 27 in August. But I mean, I'm not turning 30 next month, which is great. No, so yeah, what would you like to talk about?
Well, I think you covered most of my topics, but I've got a little bit of a niche rant.
Go on.
We've been talking about visuals and obviously viewing. Could they not have done something about those bloody car park markings on the start-finish straight in Tokyo?
I think that's just because it's like a it's like New York. It's a port area. So yeah.
Trouble is, I work in that industry, and it's not that expensive just to blast it off.
But you could argue it's an expense. Is it worth it?
For the visuals, I'd say so.
I didn't notice it. It didn't bother me, or it was too early in the morning to bother me.
I didn't notice it, but that's because I was tired on one morning.
That's probably
and hung over the following morning. So, but yeah, no.
Maybe that's just a nicheness online that I noticed it because it's the industry, but just the visuals of racing in a car park.
No fairs, like it didn't bother me. I didn't even know it was a car park. There you go. So you got a better ride than I do.
Perks of the job, just seeing these things.
Yep.
But obviously carry on with our discussion.
I will say, in the wet race, that area of track looked about 3 or 4 times wetter than any other part of the circuit. It would that was the sort of treacherous point that I could see from the circuit. Everything else sort of looked like, if it was to be F1 conditions, it looked like everywhere else was sort of like inters, whereas that front straight was just full wet the entire race.
I'd say probably just because where it is, being so close to being on the coast, nothing blocking the rain coming in.
Yep.
But yeah, shall we have a quick discussion about what we discussed 2 weeks ago and how poor old Norman?
Oh, Norman.
Yeah.
Still struggling.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier. Okay, right.
I know.
Sasha Fenestraz, I want your opinion. Right? Would he have done a better job than Norman?
Well, I'd say that's...
because that's who they replaced him for.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think he would have done. I think a lot of drivers would have done. But I almost want to ask a hypothetical question. Is the grid close? This is going to sound controversial given how far Ollie's ahead. Is the grid closer than it's ever been before?
So closer in terms of talent and skill level and
closer in car levels. Let's be honest.
Oh, car levels, but then obviously, okay. Is it the closest the grid's ever been? I feel like it's roughly the same as it's always been. DS have always been there or thereabouts, but never quite good enough.
But they're still up to say first season that every single team's got a podium.
Third season,
everyone's got a podium now.
Everybody's got a podium. Obviously, Degrassi, Ticktum.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't even. Yeah, you can tell that I didn't watch this weekend. Yeah. I'm learning more about this weekend by being here tonight than like watching the actual races of the weekend. But yeah, no, well, that's
maybe.
That's incredible.
I think you're probably right because of the fact that, well, Cooper Kiro now, which have got a Porsche powertrain, so that's brought them into play. Right, and Mahindra have gotten better. So arguably, yeah, this is probably the closest season that we've ever had, right? Because Mahindra is so much better. Obviously, you've got Lola who have come in. Yes, they've got a podium, but they're still a little bit rubbishy, but they've gotten better. And Degrassi is scoring points, and Zane's just having the Jehan Deruvala season. I don't know if that's fair, but where he's just a rookie and he's just finding it out by himself.
He's a rookie and he's got a new powertrain. Like it's
all new to him.
Completely brand new powertrain.
So maybe the Dreyhound to Ruvula season's not a bad comparison.
Probably not really, but no, I just think we are. It almost feels like it's a shame that Rowland's got so far ahead because we are in the closest season. I mean, look at the gap from like 4th to.
You know, why don't we get it up? Why don't we get it up? Because I made this graphic and I forgot. We've been so busy that we've forgotten to use it. So Oliver Rowland's obviously on 161 points. So you've got 84 points for Pascal Wehrlein. DeCosta's on 73. Barnard 69. Jake Dennis is on 56. Look how well Mahindra are doing. You've got 52 and 47. And then Jean-Eric Verne 46, 45 for Buemi and 44 for Vandoorne. So that lower echelons of top 10 and 11th is Maximilian Gunther on 43. So that lower part of the top 10 is really tight. But if you took
Ticktum's on 43 as well.
Yeah, so you know, if Pascal Wehrlein, if Oliver Rowland wasn't in this championship, you'd still say it's anyone's.
Absolutely, and I could see Ticktum quite easily getting into the top 5 and even 12.
Yeah.
Like we are in the one of the closest seasons I think but especially in recent memory
that we've had.
Well,
what about season 7 when everyone could win the championship?
Season 7, I use that as an anomaly. That's not a proper.
Technically,
season.
That was tight though.
Technically, yes. But we don't count COVID. That's just a rule of life.
No. It wasn't a COVID.
It was the season after COVID.
It was the season where we went into the final race in Berlin and had 14 people who could win the championship.
It was after COVID, but COVID restrictions were still in place. You still had to do a test to go on the plane and back.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's COVID period.
So because I had to do a test in Berlin airport because I didn't have one basically, and I thought the Formula E one that I did would be enough, but they said no. I was like, all right then, I'll have to pay £40 and do one here then. But never mind. Right, Chris, we're gonna have to let you go because
no worries.
I've still got Natalie, and maybe even Mr. Hunter to pop in. Just to say hi. But thank you for the chat and thank you also for becoming a member. Absolute legend. And
no worries.
We'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you later.
See you later.
Cheers.
Right, just while we get Natalie in, I'm just gonna fill for a couple moments. Anyone who's just still in chat, I just want to bring this up with everyone because this was something interesting that happened over dinner tonight. We were watching the Formula E highlight show that was on ITV. And the big question that I want to ask all of you tonight, still in chat, is from a distance of about, I'd say, 5 meters on a small screen, do you think Andre Lotterer looks like Chris Martin?
From Coldplay.
Please discuss. Yeah, Coldplay. Lead singer Coldplay.
So put that in chat and then we'll come back to the answers after we speak to Natalie. Natalie, you're on the Febar.
Hello.
How are you?
You kept me waiting, didn't you?
Well, to be fair, if here's what it is. Unfortunately, we were so busy. And it's Brett, and I thought, well, other people have been last. Like Chris has been last, Saz has been last. So I thought maybe it's Natalie's turn to be last today, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
I enjoy being last because I can take you out at the end.
Yep. Well, we might get Mr. Hunter on actually afterwards because he's in the waiting room. So we thought he hasn't been in. I don't think
he wants to come on. To be fair.
All right then, fair play. Well, I was going to drag him on just to say hi.
Fair enough.
Go on. What would you like to talk about?
A lot.
Go on.
Just to keep it brief. Well done, Daniel Ticktum.
Yep.
Woo.
It's been a journey, hasn't it?
Oh, it has for sure for him.
And that's just tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, to see Kiro in their various guises struggle over the past few years, especially. It's been nice to see Dan get the result the team deserves, ultimately.
Yeah, 100%. Like like it's been a long time coming for Dan Ticktum, I think.
This sort of momentum, because he was quick in Monaco as well. He came to Tokyo, and he's been sort of there or thereabout all weekend. He got
could
some
have got
good
it on
points.
pole yesterday.
Yeah, he could have got it on pole on the Sunday race, but he was also there or thereabout in the Saturday pit boost / rain race.
Yeah.
So yeah, this sort of momentum. Do you think it will keep? Do you think this is going to keep on going for Dan? That he will keep on getting these decent results?
I really do hope so, and I really hope it's not a fluke because of performance at one track. But also, I was working all weekend, and it looked like I missed an absolute corker of a race.
Yeah, that's.
To be fair, Sunday's race was brilliant. Sunday's race, I
didn't watch it. That's why I watched the ITV highlights.
You know, I was. What was I going to say? I said at the beginning before we came on air, like, I don't know what race I prefer, whether the pit boost, like, I'm a big fan of the pit boost races, and, you know, I like them, and I know they're a lot faster, and they look like proper races and so forth, but...
Yeah.
In the immortal words of Hannah Montana, let's just have the best of both worlds.
Oh, yes.
You
got the best of both worlds. That's a blast from the past.
I don't think that was the right tune. But
I don't know. I just gave it a go. It's been a long time since I've looked at
actually, it might be at the end. I was thinking of the big note, the best.
Oh yeah.
You've got the best. That's the bit that I had in my head.
That might be the ending. You might be right. Actually, that might be the ending.
Yeah,
Amazing that
also,
we remembered different things from that song. Go on.
Yeah.
How Maserati strategized Stoffel's race on Saturday was just pure perfection.
Absolute brilliance from Tobias doing the digging work on that.
Yeah. I don't think they could have called a better strategy, if I was being honest.
Well, there was luck involved, right? They gambled, right? They could have no red flag, no safety car. We could have had nothing, right?
Yeah.
Could have had absolutely nothing. And he would have struggled and probably finished last.
Yeah.
But they gambled and it paid off.
Yeah, if there was no flag, if there was no red flag or safety car, I think Ollie would have won that race on Saturday.
Oh yeah, of course he would have.
Or Taylor.
Ollie would have won that race. He dominated it from start to finish.
Yeah.
And just got caught out by Stoffel Vandoorne. Like, nothing he could have done for that.
No. But, you know, it's Ollie's championship to lose this year, and I know Mum's been saying that all season, but I'm calling it right now. It is Oliver's championship to lose. He's just been in a field of his own this year.
He that's what I was saying, you know, he's like champion elect.
Do you think he could wrap it up as early as Jakarta, or do you think Berlin is more likely where it's going to happen?
I hope, because I'm going to be there, it goes down to the wire like it has done the past few years. It's Formula E. Anything can happen. Could be decided in Jakarta, could be decided in London like it has been the past 2 years. But ultimately, it just comes down to, can Oliver win like he has been doing? Can he be consistent and get on the podium as often as he has been doing?
Yep.
And can he just continuously score points? If he can do all that, championship's done by Berlin in my eyes.
Yeah, I think championship's got a good chance of being done in Berlin. Go on.
Yeah, I just want to throw in, because you are the Envision Racing fan as well across your socials. How good is it to see the resurgence of Sebastian Buemi? Obviously, he had that win in Monaco, but he was there or thereabout in Tokyo Race 1.
Was.
And he got some points in Tokyo Race 2 as well. So
yeah, you know, Envision's points last year were non-existent. I just want to forget last year as an Envision fan. But yeah, it's been really nice to see the team do well this year. Like, we've had Robin in the points, we've had Seb winning races. It's been nice to see. And then from my McLaren point of view, it's been nice to see Taylor get a few podiums, Sam getting the points. Yeah, while some results haven't gone my way team-wise this year, other results have. And to see Seb win in Monaco and give him his first race win in 5 years, 6 years actually. my emotions felt like we'd won the team's championship again.
Yeah, it was good to
you know,
see.
it had been a long time coming. If I'm being 100% honest.
No, I fully agree.
Yeah.
Fully agree. Right, Natalie, I think we've reached time.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Pleasure as always. Do we bring Mr. Hunter into the main chat, Mr. Pickering?
Give him a go.
Give him a go. Give him a go. Mr. Hunter.
Ed.
Oh, sorry. I've got
Hello.
the web.
You got a wet what?
I've got a web down. Filming. To stop making them. Anyway, what do you guys want to talk about?
Nothing. We just wanted to say hi, mate.
Okay. Is the stream still going?
Yeah, the stream's still going. We're live.
We're still live.
Right.
Don't
Still
swear.
live. Don't swear.
I wasn't going to. No.
No.
Don't swear.
I do the swearing. I do the swearing on this show. Thank you very much.
We thought we'd give you the final word.
Okay. What do we want me to talk about?
I don't know. You watched it, mate. What do you want to say?
Did you?
Okay.
We've given you the floor.
Okay. Well, I think like everyone has said, great performance from Dan Ticktum. Pretty much the whole weekend, he was exceptionally quick. Nearly got pole position on the Sunday, and then in the race just about held on to. I think he said that he felt he could have won it as well if
He did in the press
Pascal had
conference,
worked with him a little better. But yeah, nonetheless, it's been like 7 years for that team since Oliver Turvey's podium in Mexico 2018, which was the last time that they looked particularly promising.
Let me tell you, Ed, I was proud that I remembered. I remembered that it was. I wrote it in the race report, and I was like, yes, I remember this. Go on, Pico.
Just to put that in perspective, the last time Neo that guys were on the podium, I had not stepped foot in the Formula E paddock. I'd gone as fans. I'd met Ed like in previous years in London and everything like that. But I had not stepped into the paddock the last time that team were on the podium, and so that's just wild.
Yeah, a whole career, whole civilizations have been raised and fallen in those 7 years. Wow. And yeah, I guess the Rowland steamroller continues. Nothing seems to be able to stop him. Not even the presence of his young daughter having to childmind during the entire. That was kind of hilarious. Sort of, I think it's a clip they were showing just before qualifying where he's got her on his shoulder. And he's like, "Oh, don't you want to look at Daddy's car?" And that's a car. Just like it's been like in pieces, so she didn't recognize it because it's not all shiny and glossed up. Nissan did a thing, I think, during the promotion where they did a website. Was it Nissan Electric Race or whatever? Where it's like one of those 90s arcade games, which I thought was a really fun idea to promote it. And obviously their livery was brilliant, and they had like Tommaso Volpe had recorded some lines like if you're going too slow, it's like, "You're too slow. You need to speed up." Oh, sorry, this is a terrible impression. And I also love I think there's a driver select screen, and if you pick Rowland, one of the things is like a 50% chance he'll just say "total domination, baby." And I think the Norman one is a bit more restrained. He's like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
Or I might do well. Who knows? Yeah, I love that. And yeah, the misery for Jaguar continues. Seems to be
it does. We didn't even get time to talk about that today. We didn't even get time to talk about. Right, I'm going to wrap up because otherwise we'll talk forever. But so it's time.
No, it's nice to catch up.
It is time. You guys can say this. Chat. I have to give like a little bit of a buffer. It's time to write down how many views our Dan Ticktum fingers on. So no looking. You can guess in chat and write down your guesses. What do you think is? What do you think? You can say it here, Natalie.
Okay.
I'll go 350.
350? Where have you been?
14,000, mate.
In the waiting room.
It was at 14,000 at the start of the show.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Jack said it was 13.8, so I guessed 14.1. And
while I was missing a digit.
And while I said 14.1, Toby put in the chat that it was 14.2.
It was already at 14.2.
So,
it's interesting. We were talking about this as well, about how Dan is sort of becoming a sort of brand that Formula are trying to use. to break into the mainstream. It's kind of cool that Formula E have,
did
instead of
put
fighting against that, they've decided to try and support that, because there was a lot of, he should, especially in Monaco when he made that comment about wanting to punch his team or whatever. There's a lot of and Nick and I think it's fair from Coulthard and Nick Golding as well on the show, basically saying, well, that's really unprofessional. He shouldn't be throwing the team under the bus. But you know, there is an extent to which you have a passionate character, and if you muzzle that, then they're just going to be really, really miserable. And you don't want a situation where drivers are, and it's like the whole swearing thing with MBS and the FIA. And, well, you don't want drivers going around worrying about treading on eggshells all the time and sort of not being themselves and sort of being really, really miserable and sort of saying, well, I'd say what I think, but I'll get penalised. So, you know, I'll just say nothing then. I think that would be a depressing place for the sport to be in terms of personalities. And that's not what Formula E wants from my perspective either.
Yeah. And also to add to that comment quickly, not letting drivers' personalities shine through on the radio and on the racetrack, would that be a bad thing for Formula E and F1? Necessarily, or is it like is it
I get your point. You don't want to dampen down the characters, right? You want them to you want a bit of personality. You don't want these people to feel like they're robots.
There was a thing that Seb Vettel said in a press conference a few years ago in Bahrain to defend Lewis Hamilton, because Lewis called Verstappen a dickhead or something like that. And I can't remember the reason or something like that, but yeah, Vettel was saying, well, you wouldn't mic up all the 11 football players and critique everything that comes out of their mouth. I mean, even if you look at the women's players, Jill Scott, who's one of the most famous English players, is probably more well known for that gif of her mouthing "F off."
So before we get too sweary,
and most of it's said in the heat of the moment. At the end of the day, it's not.
Are we defending Pico or Dan Ticktum?
Well, we don't know. At this point, we don't know. But let's go back to the TikTok thing, and then we'll end the show. So the correct answer for what? So it was on 14.2 or 13.8, pretty much.
Can I say mine before
Go on
you
quickly.
Reveal? I haven't said mine yet. 15.3k.
15.3. So no one has got it. It is on 16,500. So 16.5. It was on 16.4 when we started it, but it's gone over to 16.5 now. The amount of likes it's on 683 likes and 24 people have comments. And yeah, it's a bit sad that some of the comments on there are a bit sketchy. Unfortunately, there are some nice comments and there are some not so nice comments on that, but it shows that you know, Dan, and it was interesting when I said to Helen whether or not we'd be talking about this in 10 years and we'd still have people saying X, Y, and Z about him. And hopefully not in 10 years' time. But Natalie, you wanted to end the show, so I will hand you over to end the show.
You have been watching the Febar with the two Jacks, Pico and Jack. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and if you haven't become a member yet, please consider doing so. You're supporting two awesome guys. You have been watching the Febar. We will see you after Shanghai.
Goodbye.